Hi there, this is Kerry Martell, the Millennial Gentleman himself. And I just want to, make a kind of an update, I guess. I have not forgotten about the Millennial Gentleman channel. That's not what has occurred, okay? As I mentioned in the previous videos I've put up on this channel, I uncovered a conspiracy, like a legitimate criminal conspiracy operating in my hometown that I had returned to. It had been back in the area for about a year and a half. And, I found this thing, and people were, trying to get it reported on by the news. They had all this evidence, and nobody was doing it in the local news. It just seemed like, they're part of the conspiracy. A lot of them were. And in the course of investigating it, I found people who were part of the press, like a literal member of the Associated Press, okay? A literal AP reporter who was part of this group and did an article about the group that he's a part of, not disclosing that he's a freaking member of it, okay? Like, this is a deep, deep thing with elected officials in an entire county. And nobody else is reporting on it. So, as I mentioned on my channel before in the past, I used to work as a games reporter. I was a video game journalist for a while when I was in college and film school. So I have a background in journalism. I do understand, how to report on things. I didn't have a lot of experience necessarily with investigative reporting, but I definitely had done exposés and things like that about like video game history and interviews with creators and things. So I understand the basics of it. So I took this role upon myself because nobody else was doing it. Did a bunch of, very long articles, which take hours to read, but just shows all the evidence. The articles have been getting 10,000, visitors a day. Or not a day, sorry, a week. They've been getting about 1,000 or so a week. So just under 1,000 a day. But about 10,000 roughly a week visitors. And I have still so much more to report about these people, right? I got so much more, and which I have on this new site, yamhilladvocate.com, which is a digital newspaper that I've published to cover news in Yamhill County, Oregon, and all the different cities in the county, among which is Newburgh, my hometown. So, I don't want you guys to think Kerry's forgotten and abandoned Millennial Gentleman. It's not what's happened, okay? What's happened is that I only have so many hours in the day, and researching some of the content that I've been producing, it takes an entire day. Writing those articles took me, basically waking up and writing and then eating and going to sleep and then doing it all over again for several days in a row. It's a lot to unpack because I'm going through literally years of these Facebook group chats where they organize their conspiracy, between two different groups over the span of a couple years, right? So it's a lot. And people are still sending me more stuff. I just got a cache of all these documents with attorney letters and things like that at the district, which I published in this article. Newburgh School District Attorney says politically divisive flag ban most likely will withstand a constitutional challenge. Something that the district, the administrators haven't really acknowledged. And I got it as part of this public records release that was sent to me. So I published it, right? So I got all the stuff, and because of the nature and the time sensitivity of the articles, right? Like this, I'm talking about things that are currently happening. There's currently 2 recalls against conservative politicians in the area. There's one on the school board because they're trying to take the group is trying to take back control over the school board so they can implement critical race theory again into the curriculum. And they're also trying to recall the local county commissioner, who is currently, opposing their activities as well. So it's time sensitive, the stuff that I need to get out as quickly as I can and as professionally as possible. So I have this balance between I got to make really, quality articles as fast as possible and get this information out there so that the voters of the county can make an informed decision, because they're not able to make informed choices when they're being, I believe, deceived, intentionally deceived by other media outlets who are publishing only the side of the people who are part of a criminal conspiracy. To this day, My articles, none of the information has been shared by any of the other media outlets, even those that are conservative leaning here in the state of Oregon. Nobody except me has done this. That's what I'm facing, right? Like, I'm literally the only person right now who's reporting on this stuff that everybody should know about so they can make good choices at the ballot boxes, right? If I don't do it, nobody might do it. And I know that sounds like I'm a martyr or something, but I'm just stating facts. Show me somebody else who has made any of these reports. Show me a publication who's been doing it, right? There just isn't. I mean, okay, in fairness, there's one called Newburgh Dundee News, which is a very small blog, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just not being, they're not getting the reach that I'm getting. So since I'm getting this reach, I'm getting this tons of viewership from my articles, I put together a newspaper for the entire county. And that's what I've done, and that's what I've been working on. And there's some stuff, you guys might be interested in as well. Here's a news story about a man who went on a crime spree in nearby Clackamas County while he was dressed in a Ricky Bobby Halloween costume. Okay, like there's some wackadoodle things going on in the state of Oregon, let me tell you. And we know the reason why, right? It's the meth addictions. The meth addictions and the bad, failed policies of the Democrat Party. And I can say that, because I'm a registered Democrat still, technically. And they're just doing a poor job of administrating the public's interests in their capacity in the government. And we have this widespread drug addiction problem, and people do crazy, absolutely bonker things like this. So, I'm reporting on this stuff. That's what I've been focusing on. My goal, I have a Subscribe Star account here, which is advertised here, right? I'll just go over to it. I have a Subscribe Star account, and nobody gets anything for donating because I don't have the bandwidth to provide special news articles just for the subscribers. But if you want to contribute, if you want to show your support for what I'm trying to do, you can subscribe, at different tiers here, and help me do two main things. The first thing I'm trying to do is get money to hire an additional writer to cover the general news topics, right? Regular stories, much like that, the crime spree one I just showed. Report that stuff, report on local, community fluff pieces about the good things happening in the community. Report on school sport events and things like that. I'm currently having to do that myself, and it does distract away from me being able to write reports about the exposés, which in an ideal world, I would focus just on that, because that's where my talent seems to be best suited for. But because I have nobody else writing reports for reports for the Advocate right now, I have to write the general news pieces too, so that there's a balance of coverage, right? It can't just be, the criminal conspiracy super hour all the time, every day, right? It has to have a balance of coverage if it's going to be a real newspaper, if it's going to really provide people the news. It can't just be about one topic all of the time. So I want to get a second writer to help me, and I want them to produce good content. I want them to do it consistently. So I need to pay them, right? And I've figured out the projections of what would cost, paying somebody 10 cents a word for 600 length articles, 12 articles a week. Comes out to, I think it's a little over $2,600 a month, $2,600, I think it was somewhere around that. So that's step one, get enough income so that I can hire a second writer, probably a local college student at the university who's already in the journalism program, who is looking to pad out their resume. That's my ideal situation, okay? And that person can produce 12 articles a week about general news topics while I focus on the expose, running super lean startup method of doing this business, right? So if you want to support that, Subscribe Star, Carrie Martell is basically what it is, right? Going back over to the Advocate here, the second thing I want to do is I want to make a print newspaper. And there's a couple reasons why. I've been on the new media side of things for most of my adult life since getting out of the military. I got into YouTube. It had just started when I got out of the military, and I was focused on digital media, everything from webcomics to running a YouTube multi-channel network that I sold to a film studio and became a vice president at that studio, right? Like, I have the expertise in new media. That is what my lifeblood has been. That's what I've consulted for. That's what I really understand. I know the enormous challenges of legacy media business models, and I want to avoid it, but I don't think that that necessarily means print has to die. I have a small publishing imprint, and the vast majority of my book sales are actually in print. I think it's about the way that you do it, the way that information is presented, the type of information that's presented. I think that there is still a place for print newspapers, even in a digital age. And where I probably differ is that I don't view the digital newspaper as being competition for the print one. There's things I can put into the print one that are bonus content that you wouldn't ordinarily receive. And the way I keep costs down for my businesses, I think will allow me to be able to not charge a high fee for access to the digital, and which is currently a free publication, and the print medium. I think that I can make this work. So that's the second goal, right? After these two things are achieved, I can then start actually paying myself, a salary of sorts, and maybe even start hiring more writers. There is still a tremendous amount of money that can be obtained from advertising circulars distributed in newspapers. There's still a valuable business model for print, but you have to have the subscribers. To get the subscribers, you have to establish reputation, putting out consistent quality news content that people want to read. That's what has to happen. So I'm very focused on this at the moment. Now, I have been talking with a couple friends about putting together a podcast for Millennial Gentlemen, this YouTube channel. And I'm looking into how to do that and schedule it and make it so that it can consistently come out and things like that. So I'm going to try to do that. It's on the plan, at least. Okay, it's on the agenda to create a podcast for Millennial Gentlemen that will talk about a lot of the same stuff I've always been talking about on the blog, on the channel. It'll come out, okay? It'll be a little bit different format than the content I've been making, but it will come out. So please just give me some time to try to scale up Yamhill Advocate. I think that I can do this in a relatively quick time. I can get ourselves into a situation where we can afford a second staff writer, which will free me up to get the exposés and the stuff and the exposés about this conspiracy out, right? Once that's largely done, once I've got all this information out, I won't need to spend so much time of my waking hours going through years worth of stuff to write these reports. I think I'll have more free time for my other projects. Like, I have got so many other projects. Like, I was about to release a whole bunch of, public domain books that really haven't had a good print edition in many years, a hardcover edition, which I have the ability to publish. I was focused on editing and creating nice layouts and even illustrations for these public domain stuff. Like, I have all these other things I've been doing. I have these unpublished manuscripts of my own. These are books I've been writing. Okay, so that's kind of on the back burner at the moment while I try to get this time-sensitive news content out so that the voters who are currently, having to make decisions about recalls can make the correct choices. That's just what I'm trying to do. And stop the efforts of these crazy self-declared racist people, from bringing segregation back, which just sounds completely mad to me to have to be saying in the year 2021. Like, this is shit from another fucking lifetime ago. I know I'm cursing, but it's absolutely bonkers what they're doing. This was resolved in the 60s, right? There's no purpose, there's no meaningful reason for them to try to bring segregation back. This was fucking done. And it's astounding to me, it's still astounding to me, that I'm having to create a newspaper to fight against segregation and racists in America in the year 2021. Absolutely bonkers. But here we are, this is what we're doing, this is what we're fighting. So I appreciate you guys' support. Everybody subscribe to the channel. I hope you stay subscribed. There will be more content coming out. I don't know exactly when, but there will be. If you want to follow what I'm doing, you know, make the yamhilladvocate.com your homepage so you can see the news that I'm doing. If you're interested, I know most of you don't live in Yamhill County, Oregon, but if you just are interested in reading about this tale I'm unraveling here, you know, subscribe to it. And there's also a YouTube channel you can follow as well, which I will be uploading some content related to the exposés, the new podcasts, when I read through my long and lengthy articles to make it more digestible to people. That content is going to be on the Yamhill Advocate YouTube channel, not the Millennial Gentleman channel, so I could try to keep these things more separate than they've been, because I kind of mixed them up because I didn't have anywhere else to put the content. But now there's a dedicated Yamhill Advocate branded page on YouTube for this content. Thank you guys so much, and I hope that you have a great Halloween.